Kronawitter, welcome inside the Crazy Ant Farm. How are you, man?
I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, of course. We are super stoked to talk to you, of course, with your appearance on She-Hulk and the longevity of your career and that all the shows that you've been able to be in is fantastic. And I think it's just going to be a fantastic interview for all the up-and-comers that towards the show is based. And I think we're gonna have a blast with you.
Awesome. Yeah, it's I always feel like an up and comer, honestly. And I think that's probably probably a good thing, just to never get too comfortable with it.
For sure.
And because every time the job is over, your job is over, and you don't have a job. You're unemployed, and you're just back where you were. So
exactly,
you start afresh.
Exactly.
And so you just try to refine your process.
That's
over
right.
and over again, and then just try and learn along the way.
For sure. That's good advice right out the gate.
Exactly. But we want to introduce you a little bit to all the listeners out there who are not really necessarily familiar with you. So we want to know, man, how did you get started in the entertainment industry? Was it something you always wanted to do, or you just kind of fall into it? Let us know what your journey was.
Yeah, well, first of all, I would say I'm absolutely not offended if nobody knows who I am. Because I definitely wouldn't expect that. And, I kind of hail myself as like a blue collar actor. That's
Sure.
what I like to call myself, is, someone who's involved in a lot of things, but mostly, a lot of kind of like the supporting type thing, ground level, but, part of the process. Part of a lot of processes, but not always someone that you'd recognize. And but I feel like it's a blessing every day that I get to do it, because here I am. I'm 48 years old, and when I was 14, something told me, you should get on stage, and I have no idea what that was. I can tell you how it happened. I was in middle school. Had the Performing Arts Magnet School come, and they did a presentation for the kids in the gym, and everyone snickered, made fun of it, and these guys were just like the pariahs of the school for the day. And then at the end of it, they said, if anyone thinks this is fun or they'd want to do this, come talk to us. And so I guess I was a glutton for punishment. And somehow I ended up there with my name on a piece of paper, and they said, okay, well, you're going to need to do a monologue, and you're going to have to do this monologue in front of these people, and they're going to decide if you're going to go to this school. And I had no idea what a monologue was. I'd never done one.
Right.
So someone gave me one, just probably some kind of formulated monologue out of a monologue book or something, not even from a real play.
There you go.
And so I went in, did it, and it ended up in the school. I still had no idea what I was doing. I got there. I went to Pebblebrook High School. It was like in South Cobb. And so I was in a brand new school with people I didn't know, doing this brand new thing. I really had no idea what I was there supposed to do.
Right.
And come to find out, the drama teacher told me a couple years later, he was within inches of sending me back to my home school.
Oh, wow.
because he said I just kind of sat there. I didn't get too involved, and I was just kind of soaking it in. And then in my sophomore year, he said, I noticed things kind of started to click for you a little bit. And then it just went crazy from there. Something happened to me, I guess. I don't know. I got like a Best Actor award at the play competition, got a lot of confidence. Our play won state competition, and then things started kind of picking up from there. I was like, well, dang, I guess someone likes this.
Yeah.
And the rest of high school got, our school won a lot of great little awards, that kind of thing, from the productions that we did. And then it came time to, really make the decision, graduate from high school, right?
Right, right.
It was like, my parents were like, well, so you want to be an actor, huh? And they said, well, you know that you're probably not going to have any money. And I said, oh, well, that's not what I thought.
Right.
I thought I would just be loaded and driving a Ferrari. What do you mean? And so they kind of brought me back down to earth a little bit, and they said, well, hey, I think you need to really just maybe have something in your back pocket, something that's like, that you can just kind of make some money in. So I thought, well, what's the closest to that? The closest I came up with was broadcasting.
Yeah.
Like news broadcasting, right?
Yep.
And so I went to college in Colorado, Mesa State in Grand Junction. It's this tiny little school. I got in there because they had a pretty good broadcasting department. And I think that was the only school that would probably accept my GPA and SAT scores at the time because they were I would say subpar. I'll just be nice to myself. So I did that for like a couple of years. And then I realized, I don't think I can do this the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Right.
It was a lot of like finding a story to have a story, almost making a story to have a story.
Sure.
Yep.
We had to turn in a story every week. And I found myself having a very difficult time, just doing that. And so I took a couple of years off and decided, I was like, I'm going to go back to Atlanta. I'm going to earn some money, save some money, and decide what I want to do. Either I'll go to Florida, University of Florida, where they got a really good program there, and take it, to the next level and finish it off, or I'll pursue my dream and go to Florida State, which is where my acting teacher from high school went. And there's a lot of great things about Florida State's theater program going around at the time. So just a wild decision. I was sitting in the Books A Million, if you remember that. You remember?
Oh yeah, Books A Million. It's now BAM.
Is it?
Yeah, everything's got to be, it's like it got a quick attention span. Right? BAM.
Yeah, right. Books A Million and lots of downloads.
Yes.
Yeah. But I was just sitting in there. I had the university book. I'm flipping through it, and I'm flipping back and forth between U of F and FSU, going back and forth. I'm looking at the stats, looking at, just the population breakdown, that kind of thing. And I was like, these are the exact same, like nothing is helping me make my decision here. And then I just put it down and I just said, why don't I just do it? Why don't I just do what I want to do? And so from that point on, that was it. And then I went to Florida State and auditioned for their Bachelor of Fine Arts program. They accepted me, and it was a great, awesome program. I'm sure you've probably spoken to some Florida State grads.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. I mean, so yeah, you know how great it is. And I was just really lucky to be a part of it, and got a lot of great opportunities. And so then graduated, and then I was like, well, it's New York or LA, right?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Right. And so I liked the camera, even though I'd never done it. And so that was another totally uninformed decision on my part. So a life-altering one.
Sure.
And I decided I wanted to go to LA instead of New York. And so I went to LA. And here's the thing, like in all my years at Florida State, they never taught us the business of acting.
Right.
We never were told about networking, schmoozing, all of those kind of social nuances that go into it, besides the audition itself. I thought the best person for the job gets it. It doesn't matter who you had a party with on Saturday night. It's what your audition was like on that Tuesday morning against everyone else's. Well, it didn't quite work that way. So
Exactly.
I had a really hard time with that. And I was just a front door kind of guy. And so the toughest part was getting an agent out there.
Sure.
And so got an agent, I was trying to get an agent, and finally got to meet one, and they just told me, they said, look, I'd love to sign you. I can see, you're trained, you're talented, but I just can't convince everybody in the office to sign you. And that's the way it works. And so, it's kind of like a catch-22, how do you get work? How do you get an agent? And then I was talking to some friends back here, some friends that came from Florida State, and they were here, and it was like 1990. This was 98, 99. And they were talking about, my buddy, Jamie Rennell, he's a good actor here in town. He said, I just did a little thing on Remember the Titans. I've got an agent. I've got auditions. I've got real jobs. Like, I'm making real money at this. And so I was blown away by that. I never thought that the place I came from would be where I needed to be.
Right.
And, so I said, will you take my stuff into your agent? And he said, sure. So he took it into Jen Kelly over at the People Store. And she said, I wish I had him last week. I could have submitted him for this movie. And that was all I needed to hear. And so I packed up the U-Haul and I drove back. And I was on my way to go meet Jen for the very first time at People's Store. And she said, hey, you know what? Before you come down here this afternoon, do me a favor and stop by Chris Redding's. She's having an audition for the this National Six Flags commercial. I just think you'd be good for it. So I was like, sure. So I go in there, I do it. It's like my real kind of first professional on-camera audition.
Yeah.
And it was nothing but reactions. It was totally, it was mindless, but I did it. I committed to it. And then somehow I got it. Right. And so that was kind of an affirmation for me. And that's what Jen said too. She's like, yeah, this is a good indication of this is where you need to be. And so that was in 2000. Mm-hmm. And I got to say, I've been doing it ever since. And, of course, some years are better than others.
Of course.
Sure.
But and then the industry, as you know, it's evolved a lot since then.
For sure.
I mean, industrials were my bread and butter.
Mm-hmm.
I did those all day long, and I loved them. I didn't care.
Yeah.
And I do the occasional commercial too. And it was Dawson's Creek at that time. Like that was the show. That was the show around.
Right.
And so I said, we would drive out to Wilmington. We would drive to Wilmington to read one line and then wait to see if we got a callback. And then if we did, we would stay there until the evening and then do our callback. And then we would drive home. Crazy, but we did it. We were young, and I don't think we knew any better. Thankfully, it's come a long way since then.
Oh, right. For sure.
So, but with the evolution of with all the film coming to town, I got to say, I kind of miss the industrials because I used to book those all the time.
Right.
And, it was some good, easy money.
Yeah.
But the landscape changed, once everyone started coming here, there's a lot more people. Then it started feeling a little bit more like LA.
Right.
And so a lot of that corporate stuff kind of dried up. And I think it was part of the economy as well. Around 2008, a lot of it that just went away and it didn't really ever come back. But then the film stuff just kept coming and kept coming and kept coming. And so honestly, I've never really considered myself like a super strong film or TV actor. Because I just always knew, it's good to know, like someone told me one time, it's good to know what time it is, what you're good at and what you're not good at. And instead of trying to push the circle through the square. And so, I knew that wasn't my thing. It wasn't what I was, the best at. But I ended up booking a lot of news reporters, believe it or not.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
How did that happen?
Yeah.
And then doctors and lawyers, a lot of people who deliver a lot of exposition, and so I think primarily that's kind of been my gig really, is I'm the guy who comes in, I say a lot of stuff, and then I walk away and everyone just talks about it.
Right. Oh, for sure. And I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. Mainly, I think that a lot of people can take away from all that is, sometimes you just have to be able to get out of your own way. Sometimes you just have to, not be able to, or just not think as much. Because once you are let free of your own capacity, your mental state, then you'll be able to really shine and see what you can actually do and see your true potential, which I'm sure you saw once you got past that certain point. And I mean, it's a beautiful thing to be able to have that affirmation from someone else, right? To be able to be like, wow, I actually am doing something here. I'm actually good at this. So it's beautiful to hear you being able to do all of this.
And I think also key is not letting ego get in the way, not letting that evil monster come. Because I think once you find your lane and you realize, okay, this is where I'm at, this is what I'm good at, this is what I'm getting booked at, this is what I can do, then if you don't have that ego, you understand that now I can make a living doing what I love every day and do it pretty well. And you don't have to be that named actor. You don't have to be the guy everybody knows, but you can do what you want to do and you can do it every day and you can make a living at it. And I feel like a lot of times people let that ego, that show business ego get in the way. They want to be a star instead of just being an actor and doing what they love.
Oh, you are so right, because I used to be there, and I'll tell you, once I made the transition, it was such a relief and such a release, and just being able to be happy with what I have,
Right.
and what I've been able to do. Up to that point, it was all about what I don't have and what I haven't done yet. And so once I started to see a lot of people that I had known from a long time ago who were interested in acting, still not there, they weren't doing it anymore.
Right.
Life had pulled them away from it. Then I realized, hey, buddy, you're a lucky guy.
That's
and
right.
you better be happy, and you better be thankful for it. And so that's how I was. And so then I realized, I look around, I see what I'm booking. This is the kind of stuff I'm booking. Hey, it's providing me a living, doing my dream.
Yep.
Exactly.
And I don't care if people know me, and in fact I'm better if they don't.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. It's so freeing, and I mean, I think that goes with anything in life, right?
Oh, for
sure.
sure.
If you're just happy with what you have, and it's the same. It doesn't matter what the profession is.
Right.
But
I love
yeah.
that too. And to be able to do it where you're from, because not a lot of people think about that. They only think about, the major hubs in the world. Now they'll think about Los Angeles, Atlanta, New York, and sometimes Vancouver if they are willing to travel all the way up there. But if you actually take a second, take a moment, look around, you'll actually find a lot of people who are doing the same things as you are and are like-minded individuals that will help you and help each other create beautiful content. And I think that's something else that a lot of people, need to step back and look at, because you don't have to drive 30 hours out of your way and be like the smallest fish in a big pond. You can be a decent sized fish in your pond and grow and shine. And I think that is a brilliant lesson to take away from this interview. So I appreciate that.
Oh, happy to impart that.
Exactly.
Well, it's funny you say that, because when I was in LA, I was looking around and I was looking at the guys who were doing it, and they had some traction. And
Yeah.
one common theme was they were from the area,
Mm-hmm.
or
Yep.
they had a family member in the business.
Yep.
And so, I guess I wouldn't say if, being from here helped, but it was the fact that I got in at the time that I did.
Right.
Because if I was to try and go to Houghton right now or People's Store, it would be tough to get in there. I think, it'd be really, really hard. So, I've got to give big props to my agent at Houghton, because, they've got many people that book many bigger things than me. But they're loyal, and they know if we keep throwing this guy stuff, he will book. He might not be the biggest guy, but they, so that loyalty means a lot. And I know there's not a lot of that in this business. And I think maybe that kind of is an Atlanta thing, but, I do remember everyone, who came here from another place talking about how kind
Sure.
the actors are, how giving Atlanta actors are, and how much they're willing to help.
Yeah.
And help out in the waiting room. The
Yep.
waiting room in Atlanta is very different than the waiting room in LA.
Right.
Oh, for sure. Well, and literally, because it makes me I was literally just talking about this the other day about, you can have all the talent in the world, and talent might get you in the door, but it's character that keeps you there. And if you're a good person and you're a loyal person and you do what you're supposed to do and they do what they're supposed to do and you help each other along the way, that's how you stay in this business, right? I mean, anybody can maybe get in if they get lucky enough, but can you stay? Can you have some longevity? And I think that has a lot more to do with the person that you are than instead of the talent that you have.
Yes, and it goes back to being happy with what you have.
Yep,
exactly.
If I don't feel like I need to fiddle with what I've got, if I'm for a day I'm not quite satisfied and I feel like I need to do something, so I adjust something on it, I probably screwed the whole thing up. And so just be happy with what you have and wait, because it'll come.
Yes.
And it ebbs and it flows. When it rains, it pours. It's feast or famine, all that, and it's so true. It's so true, because I'll go for a couple months, not book anything, and then bam, I'll get 3 or 4 jobs like right away. So and that's, I guess that's something cosmic. I still don't know what's going on there, but
Right.
But it's so taking the long-term view and just being able to have patience as I think that'll help you stick around and not get too frustrated. I've seen a lot of folks who, once they start getting some traction, they're like, I think I need to leave town.
Yeah.
I think I need to go to LA.
Yeah.
And a lot of them come right back.
For sure.
Yep. They realize, hey, that wasn't so bad. It really wasn't.
Exactly. I love that
would,
though.
Yeah, I'd rather work, a number of times each year versus once or twice on a big thing.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's amazing. And I mean, we'd be remiss without talking about it, the big one that's out right now, which is She-Hulk. So we want to talk about, at the very beginning, how did that happen? Did you know you were auditioning for a Marvel project? Was it very hush-hush? We've heard a lot of different things, like, the black car will pull up if you say something wrong. So we just want to know, how was that audition process like? And then, of course, we'll lead our way on set.
Sure. Yeah. I normally get an audition notice, and that goes out to a lot of other people.
Mm-hmm.
And this one came, I think it came straight to me from my agent, from the casting directors, and I've booked reporters a lot, like I said, and so they were looking for a local news reporter, and so my agent said, hey, Feldstein Paris wants you to audition for this, and so I was like, all right, sure. So I wasn't quite sure, but in the script it was Lady Giantess,
Sure,
and which is a tough one to say really fast,
right.
And but I kind of had an idea. I was like, this is, and I think I knew it was a Marvel thing, but I didn't quite know all the details. And that's another thing. I never try to find out all the details either, because that's just going to screw me up.
Oh, right. Yep.
So I have no idea if I'm auditioning for something, that's like a high budget feature or, a small indie. I really never know. And so I wasn't quite sure on what this was, but I had a feeling it was something along that Marvel line. Maybe I knew they were doing that at the time, because I was getting other auditions for it. But the different part about this one was that they had reached out, and so I had a friend of mine. We put it on tape and sent it in, and that was it. It was just like that.
Wow, there you go.
I mean, I wish I could tell you something different, but yeah, I mean that was it. It was just a number of I don't even know if they might have been dummy sides.
Sure.
We didn't. Yeah, in fact they were, because we didn't do anything like that in the show when we shot. So and then slowly I think I realized what it was, and I still didn't quite know the reach of it until it came out, and then I realized how many people have seen it.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
How many people are watching Disney Plus, and how many people like it too. So it's been an interesting couple of weeks, having noticing which people come and tell me, hey, saw you on the She-Hulk. Usually it's people I never would have expected,
right.
Even like a Disney Plus subscriber, for example. But it's got a big reach.
Well, yeah, and now you're in the MCU. I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you're the local reporter or whether you're like this, the big villain or whatever. Because in the MCU, there's always a possibility for you to be back.
Exactly.
Like it just seems like people pop up, just like, you remember that guy from 10 years ago? Well, that was important because now he's here. Like, I mean, the plan, so once you're in the MCU, you never know.
You're right. Yeah. And, I knew on set that when, because I think the part about when I, turn to the camera and I say, he's describing the fight to me.
Right.
And I say, he's like, it's a chick Hulk. And, I say, well, like a She-Hulk. And I turn to the camera and say that was totally off the cuff. And she just threw that out there to us. Right there on set. And but then I see how it played into the product. So, who knows? They might have been laying down, 3 or 4 possibilities.
Right.
Sure.
Just to kind of figure out which way we're going to take this once we get to the editing room.
Yep.
So
that's awesome, though. And I mean, I'm always so curious because you think about these high budget and high profile type of sets. What was it like? Was it very structured? Were you able to kind of breathe, lay back a little bit and have a second to breathe and kind of mess with your character a little bit? Or what was it like on set?
Well, for me at least, when I go on set, it's always a challenge to not let myself just kind of get away from me.
Right.
And let all of the hoopla distract me, and and even nerves and that kind of thing. And so so I did, in if you've been on a shoot, you've been on a set, you've gone through the process, there's parts of that don't change, right?
Right.
It's all that part's always the same, but then there's different parts around that you see that make it give it its own. I'll tell you one thing. As soon as I got there, they had me step into a back of an 18-wheeler rig. Is this the end?
Right, exactly. Did I say something? Like,
right. Is the principal in here?
That's right. It's Feige. Here's the NDA.
Right, exactly.
We heard you spilled a detail.
That's right. Yeah.
But it was something like I'd never seen before, but I guess it's pretty standard in the industry. It was there was cameras wall to wall, head to toe in this thing, and you stood in the middle of them all, and they circled you 360 degrees. And so you stood there, you took your picture, and then you turned, and you went to the side, and you held your hands out, and then you turned to the other side and did the same thing, and then down by your side, just 3 or 4 simple shots, but with about 250 Nikons all at the same time.
Wow.
And so I said, well, what is this exactly? He said, oh, it's just something, we use that if we need in post and that kind of thing, and we can pop you in and whatever.
Yeah.
Interesting.
If we need to turn you into a supervillain at some point.
Yeah. I'm like, so you I guess you don't need me to come back tomorrow.
Right, exactly.
That's right.
I guess it was basically, so he was like, yeah, we can put you in anywhere we want. We can put you in anything. We change the shade of your skin color based on the lighting. And, if you're outside, you're inside, that kind of thing. It gives them all the options to basically do anything with your image. And so that was a first. And that was the first time that I realized that this was different.
Right.
And
exactly.
Not to mention the SAG contract at the very top says high budget feature. And they don't say that normally. But and you just knew you saw the special effects and everything, all the green screens. That's really what gave it away. But as far as the process, being on set, everyone was so cool. Titania, everyone is just great. They were so sweet, and they made it so easy and so nice. So once you get past all the hoopla, you sit there and you wait, you get mic'd up and all that stuff. You get your you get your blocking and whatnot, and then just to have your actor, your co-actor, your scene partner say to you, how happy they are to see you, how happy that you're here, and you have any questions, and and then just kind of just talk to you for just a few minutes. Just everything evaporated, and so then it was just us, and so then everything else around us just kind of dissolved. And I think that that's obviously that's a skill that that she realizes how important that is, and
for sure.
And it made a big difference. So those guys were great.
Oh, I love that. That's so awesome to
Amazing,
hear, because you only want the best out of like the biggest, universe franchise that's in the cinematic universe right now. You only wish for people to be so nice, so caring, and so like able to work with people. You don't want it to be like a dictatorship. You do this, but you want it to be very collaborative, and just be able to have a conversation, have fun on set, because this is what we all love to do. That's what it's important.
And that's what keeps the creativity flowing.
Exactly.
Because there's nothing like a creativity killer than tension on set.
Yeah, for sure.
And and some kind of an expectation of I'm not delivering for them.
Right.
There's nothing worse than that.
Yeah.
So but it was one of the most warm and fuzzy experiences. I gotta say.
That's epic.
I got to tell you, just throughout the whole interview, though, I just think that the way you approach the craft, the way you approach it for yourself personally, and just the way you come to is fantastic for all of the listeners, for anybody who's maybe already in the industry and listening to this, or definitely people who are trying to get into the industry. This is the way to do it.
Yes.
Your approach. And the theme that I keep coming back to over and over that you kept saying, and I just think it's the best advice for anybody out there. do not get in your own way. Do not get let your own self bother your process. Don't let it mess up your creativity. Don't let it. And you seem to bring that approach and like you just said with the She-Hulk thing. It's like once I took it all in and everything, I'm like, okay, now just do what you do and don't let this whole thing get you. And I think that's the best advice that you can give any up and comer is to don't live on what you think should happen. Just go do what you do and let it happen, and the rest will take what it does, so I love that. That's the theme of how you approach it and how it's been done. So
well, thank you. And and it's a work in progress. It always is. And so I'm constantly getting better and constantly refining the process, and also constantly failing as well.
Sure.
Because I continue to learn from the failure, and usually the failure is what spurs me with the next time I'm on, and to be like, man, I don't feel anything like I did that day.
Right.
Man, isn't this great? And so I realized I've progressed, and I've gotten better. But it is to each his own, and everyone has their own little hang-ups and little things that kind of get in their way, But it's once you become aware enough of how you work as a person and what your faults are, where your weaknesses are, and once you've seen them pop up, hey, that's a problem for me, and I've got to be aware of that. Yep. And so it's just kind of a constant. I just trying to get better at it every time, really.
Oh, that's beautiful, man. I cannot. Well, listen, we can't thank you enough for coming on the show and talking about your experiences, because, like I said, it's all about the up-and-comers trying to break into it. And I feel like the up-and-comers are going to have this interview on repeat, because it's gonna it's gonna help them power through a lot of stuff and kind of get over their own mental hurdles. So we can't thank you enough, man.
Oh, thank you guys. Thank you very much for doing this, and and getting the word out there, because you're right. There's a lot of people out there, and I know some, even high school age kids who I come across, and they say, I saw you on TV. Like, how do you do that? I want to do that. And so there's nothing more rewarding than telling someone how to do that, how to start the process, how to go to actorsaccess.com, start submitting yourself for these independent projects, work your way up, start earning some money, get your agent, and then to bump into those guys 3 or 4 years later.
Yep.
When they're 20 years old, and to hear them say, I did what you said, and it worked.
Exactly.
That's
I love that. There's probably no greater feeling.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. It's so rewarding. So
I love that, man. Well, it's all about social media nowadays, and we want to get the word out and have everybody follow you as much as possible. So what's your social media handles?
Man, you guys you're too cool. But you're too cool for me. You know what? I don't even have social media. I've never been on social media ever.
So drop your phone number. No, you're just kidding. Don't do it. Well, we will make sure everybody gets this interview and everybody knows who you are moving forward, and it's amazing, man.
Thanks. Yes. Well, I'm not hard to find, that's for sure. So, I'm always happy to answer any kind of questions for anybody I can, and just kind of share my experience, because, everyone has their own path.
That's right.
Everyone really does. Some are not intentional about it, and they just kind of fall into it. I think those are the people who really kind of tend to have a little more success than those who are so head focused on it, all their life, and they're working towards it. It just kind of seems like the breaks go to those who, I don't care.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's exactly right.
It's so crazy. Well, listen, man, take care. Thank you so much. And you're welcome back anytime. This was a blast.
For sure.
Like I said, I really enjoyed this interview.
Thank you, guys. Thanks. Well, hey, feel free to reach out anytime.
Of course. You have a great night.
All right. Likewise. Take care.
Thank you, brother. Bye.
Take care.
See ya. Bye.
Man, oh man, he went into the handful of people that talk more than you.
But
this is what we call an off day, where we don't have to do anything and just let the guests go, and we love those days.
Yeah, because when he's dropping advice the way he was dropping it, and his path is the way to do it.
Yeah.
So anytime we just step back and go, no, you've got it, you're doing it all right. Let everybody know how to do it.
This is your stage, sir.
We're more than happy to let that happen, and just what a great guy, though.
Yeah.
Take lessons, guys and gals, because that's how you do it. No ego, find your lane, accept and be happy with what you have, and then live the dream every day, man. That's how you do it.
I love that. That was such a pleasure.
Oh, yeah.
It really was. Thank you again, David, for coming on the show.